just bad ideas. And again, this ugly streak, streak of anti-Semitism.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC?
One of, but who's Bernie is
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is, I mean, he's not a capitalist,
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will. Trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
They're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, yes. But you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Sometimes it feels like American politics is stuck in a never-ending episode of who can go further off the deep end. And lately, Bill Maher has been one of the few voices actually daring to point out just how absurd that's gotten. This time, he's not going after the far right. No, he's taking aim squarely at the Democrats. And honestly, he's got a point. Maher's new monologue zeroes in on the left's growing flirtation with socialism, especially the rise of people like Zoran Mandani, this fresh-faced democratic socialist from New York. The guy's out here pushing rent freezes, government-owned grocery stores, free public transit, you name it. Sounds like paradise, right? Well, until you remember that government-run and efficient have never really belonged in the same sentence. Maher starts by laying out something simple but profound. America was built on two core pillars, democracy and capitalism, two sides of the same coin. You need both. But right now, it feels like one political party wants to get rid of capitalism, and the other seems a little too casual about democracy. Republicans, according to Maher, put faith, nationalism, and winning above all else. And Democrats, well, they're busy trying to convince everyone that capitalism, the same system that made America a global superpower, is the enemy. Now, Maher drops a stat that should make everyone's jaw drop. He says 74% of Democrats say they support democratic socialism, 74%. That means only 16% still stand by capitalism, the same system that, love it or hate it, created the modern middle class. You don't need a PhD in economics to see where that road leads.
It seems to me that there are two pillars that this country is founded on. One is democracy, and one is capitalism, free markets. And it seems like one party wants to get rid of one, and the other party wants to get rid of the other. Right? The Republicans are not that. Democracy is just not number one on their list. It just isn't. It isn't. It's behind Christianity and a few other things. And the Democrats, I mean, I read these 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars?
Let's pause there for a second. 74%. That's like if 3 out of every 4 people in your office decided the company should stop making money and start handing out participation trophies instead. Who's paying the bills? Who's keeping the lights on? Nobody's got answers, but apparently free stuff for everyone is the new campaign slogan. And this is where Maher's point really hits home. He's not saying Republicans are perfect, far from it. But he's warning that Democrats are steering straight toward a cliff by letting socialism creep into their brand. Because here's the thing, you can't boogeyman someone like Mandani when he's doing all the boogeyman work himself. The guy proudly calls himself a democratic socialist, talks about seizing the means of production, and wants the government to take control of basic industries. Maher jokes that if the Democrats keep putting people like that front and center, they might as well gift-wrap the next election for the Republicans. J.D. Vance or whoever the GOP runs next won't even have to campaign. They can just air Mandani's speeches on loop and call it a day.
If you don't, I mean, where are the Democrats going with this? If Mandani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for them.
Americans know the difference between compassion and chaos. They can tell when an idea sounds nice in theory but collapses in practice. Mandani's platform, with all its promises of fairness and equality, might sound great in a college dorm room, but in the real world, it's an economic disaster waiting to happen. Just look at history. Every country that's gone down that road, Cuba, Venezuela, the old Soviet Union, started with the same promises of equality, justice, and free everything. And every single one of them ended up with empty shelves, government corruption, and citizens fighting over basic necessities. That's not compassion, that's collapse.
It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party.
I think the Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrat socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get. The state-run grocery stores, which worked so well in Cuba and the Soviet Union and Venezuela.
But what's even crazier is how some young voters seem eager to try it again. It's like they've never cracked open a history book. Maybe it's because they didn't live through the Cold War or see the long breadlines of socialist economies. To them, socialism sounds edgy and progressive. But Ma calls it what it is, naive idealism wrapped in a shiny new hashtag. Now, Ma makes another solid point: this isn't just a New York thing. What happens in New York ripples across the country. It's the media capital and the financial capital. It sets trends that go national. So when a figure like Mandani starts rising there, it's not just about one city, it's a preview of where the Democratic Party might be heading. And if that direction keeps pointing toward government control, high taxes, and endless social programs, the country could end up looking a lot less like the land of opportunity and a lot more like a failed experiment in good intentions gone wrong.
New York is New York. It's definitely the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time.
Ma doesn't pull punches either. He calls out the hypocrisy of Democrats who act shocked when conservatives call them out, but then turn around and prove the critics right through their own actions. Gavin Newsom, for example, remember how he completely botched wildfire management in California, not because of climate change, but because he redirected water from fire zones to protect fish habitats? Then there's Nancy Pelosi, who got roasted for insider trading accusations that made her millions. And yet, every time they get caught, the left claims it's a smear campaign. Sorry, but at some point you stop being the victim and start being the problem.
But they'll do it regardless. Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Gavin Newsom. Yeah, but they make.
I know, but it has.
I think it was
just have more weight when it's real. I mean, when you can really.
Ma's frustration in a nutshell. He's saying the left doesn't even need enemies anymore. It's doing a fine job destroying itself. Now, let's talk about Mandani's biggest red flag, his comments on Israel. Ma calls out what he describes as an ugly streak of anti-Semitism creeping through parts of the left. That's not something anyone should shrug off. When criticism of a government crosses over into hostility toward an entire people, that's not activism, that's prejudice hiding behind politics.
Just bad ideas, and again, this ugly streak of anti-Semitism.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC?
One of, but who's Bernie? Bernie is Bernie is. I mean, he's not a capitalist.
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mandani.
No, but he will. Trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
They're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
And it's exactly the kind of thing that alienates moderate voters who still believe in balance and decency. So when you look at the bigger picture, the Democratic Party aligning with socialist ideals, ignoring economic reality, and brushing off legitimate concerns about extremism, you start to see why Ma is sounding the alarm. And let's be real here, Ma's not a conservative. He's a lifelong liberal, but he's a liberal with common sense, which in today's political landscape makes him sound practically radical. He's not saying Democrats should abandon compassion or equality, he's saying they need to stop mistaking those values for government control. There's a difference between helping people and handcuffing them to bureaucracy.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mandela, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
When Ma jokes that every 20 years, America needs a small experiment with socialism just to remind people why it doesn't work, he's not wrong. It's like touching a hot stove. Every generation seems to need to burn their fingers to realize it hurts.
Every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
He even brings up this great old quote from a British socialist after World War II who said, "We have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish." It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either 3 years later. They were short on both. That's socialism in a nutshell. The government steps in, says, "Don't worry, we've got this," and somehow manages to ruin things nobody thought could be ruined. So yeah, when Ma jokes that if Democrats put Mandani and AOC on the same presidential ticket, it would be political suicide, he's not exaggerating. That ticket might fire up the Twitter crowd, but it would send moderates, independents, and working-class voters running for the exits.